At 12:15 on 23 June 1985, Air India Flight 181, a Boeing 747-237B named Emperor KANISHKA, departed Toronto Pearson International Airport for Montreal Mirabel International Airport. The aircraft was an hour and 40 minutes late because a fifth port was installed under the aircraft below the left wing to be flown to India for repairs. Some of the parts had to be stored in the rear cargo department. The fifth port engine was a serviceable spare engine that had been on release to Air Canada after one of their Boeing 747s suffered an engine failure on the way to India. That engine received a post-lease inspection and was declared serviceable by Air Canada personnel. The plane arrived in Montreal Mirabel International Airport at 1. There it became Flight 182. Flight 182 departed for London Heathrow Airport en route to Palam International Airport, Delhi and Sahar International Airport, Bombay. 329 people were on board, 307 passengers and 22 crew. Captain Hanse Singh Narendra, 56 years old, served as the captain, with Captain Satvinder Singh Bihder, 41 years old, as the first officer and Dara Domaisia as the flight engineer. Many of the passengers were going to visit family and friends. At 7:14, the crew of the Boeing 747 squawked 2005 as requested by Shannon Airport Air Traffic Control, then vanished from the radar screens. At exactly the same time, a bomb in a cyano tuner in a suitcase in the forward cargo hold exploded while the plane was at 31,000 feet. It caused explosive decompression and the breakup of the aircraft in the midair. The wreckage settled in 6,700 feet deep water off the southwest Irish coast, 120 miles offshore of County Cork. No mayday call was received by Shannon ATC. ATC asked aircraft in the area to try to contact Air India, to no avail. By 7:30 global time, ATC had declared an emergency and requested nearby cargo ships and the Irish Naval Service vessel LE Aisling to look out for the aircraft. AI Flight 182 was an Air India flight operating on the Montreal-London-Delhi route. On 23 June 1985, it was operated using Boeing 747-237B registered VTEFO. It disintegrated in mid-air en route from Montreal to London at an altitude of 31,000 feet over the Atlantic Ocean. As a result of the explosion from a bomb planted by Canadian Sikh terrorists, the remnants of the airline fell into ocean approximately 120 miles west-southwest of the southwest tip of Ireland, killing all aboard. 329 people, including 268 Canadian citizens, 27 British citizens, and 24 Indian citizens. The bombing of Air India Flight 182 is the largest mass killing in Canadian history, the deadliest aviation accident in the history of Air India, and was the deadliest act of aviation terrorism until the September 11 attacks in 2001. The bombing of this flight coincided with the Narita airport bombing. Investigators believe the two plots were linked and that those responsible were aiming for a double aircraft bombing. However, the bomb at Narita exploded before it could be loaded onto the plane. Although a handful of members were arrested and tried for the Air India bombing, the only person convicted was Indrajit Singh Rayat, a Canadian national and a member of ISYF, who pleaded guilty in 2003 to manslaughter. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison for assembling the bombs that exploded on board Air India Flight 182 and at Narita. The subsequent investigation and prosecution lasted almost 20 years. This was the most expensive trial in Canadian history, costing nearly $130 million Canadian dollar. If all 329 people on board were killed, This crash would be the worst disaster at sea in aviation history and the third worst aviation disaster of any kind. A collision of jumbo jets in the Canary Islands in March 1977 killed 583 people, and the crash of a Turkish Airlines plane on a flight from Paris to London in 1974 took 346 lives. Air controllers at Shannon Airport in Southwest Ireland said they had contact with the plane 8 minutes before it disappeared from their radar scopes at 8:15 am. They reported that the Captain H.S. Narendra, 56 years old, who had 35 years of flight experience and 10,000 hours of flying time, had made no mention of any difficulty in his last radio conversation with them. The crew of the plane contacted us when it entered our area, and we gave them clearance to proceed to London along with the flight level, a spokesman at Shannon said. They acknowledged the message and said they would report again between Shannon and London. There was no indication that anything was wrong, he added. It was simply a routine everyday communication, no distress call heard. In London, David Learmonth of Flight International magazine said, "The whole situation screams at you that it was a bomb." He and other experts said that even if all 4 of the jumbo jet's engine had failed simultaneously, Captain Narendra would have plenty of time to send out a Mayday call, the international distress signal. But no such call was picked up. A bomb is the most likely reason for the catastrophe, so sudden and so complete, to an aircraft which has a very fine record of safety and has survived quite extensive damage before.